Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining this session. I'm Eloise from Career Map, and it's so great to see so many of you on the call today. This is a session which is an introduction to WorldSkills UK competitions. So I'm hoping I'm sure you're all really excited to find out more. Just before we get started, I wanted to let you know that it will be recorded. So we've already had a question about a recording. Yes, you will get the recording if you registered to come today. You will get it sent to your email. If you didn't register, you can still find it. It will be either on YouTube, I think, or on the Career Map website, so definitely check back. And if you need any help finding the recording, just email the Career Map team and they should be able to locate it for you. As we get started, please put your questions in the chat. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. You can either use the chat function or the Q&A function. I will be there in the chat keeping an eye on things as well, so if you want to message me directly, you can. I'll make sure your questions get answered. And yeah, there will be video as well, so the team will tell you more about that as it comes, but just so you're aware, if your phone suddenly switches to video, that's why. Other than that, I will hand over, and I hope you have a great session, and I will see you again at the end.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. So I'm Colin Galley. I'm the Further Education Standards and Quality Manager at WorldSkills UK, and I'm joined today with my colleague.
Yeah, I'm Mark Poland. I'm the National Competitions Contractor, supporting Colin and the team, looking after all the national competitions.
So thank you for joining us. So the session this afternoon is we're going to give you a little bit of an overview about who WorldSkills is, if you don't already know, a little bit about our national competitions, looking at how you can embed it as part of the curriculum offer, and also some of the resources that we have on offer to help you and support you through your curriculum design and delivery, as well as supporting your young people with competitions. So I'm going to hand over to Mark, who will start you off on your journey of WorldSkills.
Okay, so what is it we do? What do we do at WorldSkills? Well, we inspire excellence, develop excellence, and innovate excellence. How do we do that? Well, we inspire the young people via our careers advice resources, lots of them on various sites on our websites, etc., through to excellence in their apprenticeship and any technical education that they may be undertaking at the moment, so that they look at apprenticeships more as a prestigious career route path for reaching their potential, regardless of the background they're from. How do we develop? Well, we develop excellence in young people by testing and assessing their skills during our competition environment, whether it be national or international. And that not only improves with their technical skills, we also look at enhancing their confidence and their mindset and all the employer type things that employers look for within that. And we innovate excellence by bringing the mainstream global excellence back to the UK to help improve standards of teaching and training and assessment. The way that we do that is when our international team goes abroad, competing against the other countries, they pick up best practice, they bring it back, and they make sure that what we're doing in this country is relevant and suitable for the world as it stands in industry today. So what are skills competitions then? Well, skills competitions are designed by the industry experts to assess an individual's knowledge, practical skills, employability attributes against a set competitive timed criteria in the competitions. We use the industry experts to ensure that what they're competing in and what they're actually doing is current to relevant industry practices throughout the skills that we actually support. How do the individuals benefit? Well, they will benefit from fine-tuning of their critical skills and attributes and their behaviours. As I've previously mentioned, the behaviours valued by employers, for example, problem solving, self-reflection, time management, and indeed working under pressure amongst their peers. Our programmes enable participants to bring world-class skills back to their organisations, which improves productivity. When they compete and move through the competitions, they will learn and they will get extra skills as they progress through that may not be taught in the current learning environment in which they are, and they may not pick up skills at the employer's venues whilst they're in work, but by competing and taking on all these tasks, that helps improve productivity when they go back. And finally, the competitions will enable businesses and education to benchmark what they do against national and international standards of performance. The national competitions then for 2023, as you can see from the slide, hopefully you'll notice that the registration is now opened. It opened on the 27th of February. It closes pretty soon, actually, on the 24th of March. So please do, if you're considering entering any of your students or your learners or your employees into the competitions, please do so at the earliest opportunity. And I'll go through how to do that, and Colin will cover later on. And then from the 27th of February, any time up until the 12th of May, that anyone entering the competitions, once they've registered, they will take part or participate in an entry assessment. The entry assessment will take place, could take place any time, as I said, from 27th of Feb through to the 12th of May. Please take on board the fact that everyone will go through this assessment, because the last thing we want to do is to set anyone up to enter the competitions and indeed have a bad experience. So whatever they've done on the entry stages, as designed by the organising partners in industry, they will get feedback on how they performed and how they can develop. So there's benefits right from the beginning of entering the competitions. Once the entry stage closes on the 12th of May, we then move into our national qualifier stages. That's the next level through, and the number of competitors going through who demonstrate their excellent skills will find a slightly more challenging task to compete in, and it could be either online, depending on the skill. It could be online, or it could be in a venue anywhere in the UK, but all of that information will be presented to them and whoever their link is well beforehand by the organising partner. Qualifying stages, they're to be completed by the end of June, so that we can then assess all of the people that go through and all the marks that they get, so that we can announce the finalists. So from many people starting down to, on average, 8 competitors are selected and progress through to the finals, they will then get notification on the 13th of July. The finals take place, as you will see, in November, but between July and November, other activities take place to, again, excel the learning of the people going through, make sure they're up to standard and they've got all the tools that they need to be able to compete in the national finals in November. So from October, there will be a boot camp with WorldSkills, which is about the mindset training, how to perform under pressure, how to produce things quicker, etc. And then in between September and November, there will be COP training days. COP is Competition Organising Partner. So they're the industry expert organisation that run the individual skills, and they will carry out some technical training and make sure that people have got the right skills going forward. The basics then about the competitions. Well, we look at 4 sectors. The 4 sectors that we've got are construction and infrastructure, engineering and technology, digital, business and creative, and the last section is health, hospitality and lifestyle. So there's a mix of various things from welding to hairdressing to IT to culinary arts, etc., etc. Many to choose from, and there are 53 skills, separate skills that we're running this year. Embedded in that are 8 foundation skills for the learner that may have special education needs, etc. And again, the details, I don't want to spend too long going into the details of the competitions now. They can all be found on our website. And this year we're bringing 2 new demonstration competitions in, one of which is additive manufacturing, and the second one is green skills. And again, we can cover more on that later on. The competition stages. Within the competition stages, if you look at the pyramid that is on the screen now, there are 5 or 6 different stages in the competitions. The first one, the pre-competition activities at the bottom. The pre-competition activities are the preparation of the individual prior to registering to enter the competitions. And all of the activities from past competitions, etc., can be found on our web pages, okay, in the technical handbook and the pre-competition activities on the specific website page. Very informative, very useful. And again, they're designed by the organising partners, so they will be current to current practices, etc., etc. I will add at this stage that the competitions are for anybody aged from 16 up to retirement age in national competitions, as long as they've been working towards or have completed a relevant qualification within the last 12 months and have no more than 2 to 5 years industry experience, not including their apprenticeship or whatever it is they've been on. But the detail of that and the criteria again can be found on our web pages, which have all of that detailing specific for the skill you're looking at. So once people have carried out or looked at and done some of the training, they've got the people prepared to go, they would then register. So the next stage to that then is, as I mentioned earlier, is an entry stage. So the national competitions that take place will all have an entry stage to it. And I did mention this previously to ensure that the people that do enter have got the right practice, got the right tools, and we're not going to be giving people bad experiences. The numbers, as you can see on the left-hand side, we have over 15,000 people normally using the pre-competition activities. Entry stage qualifies people who have registered to enter the competition is above 3,000. And then the national qualifiers, once they've gone through and they've entered that, and if they progress through, the national qualifiers take place where we're looking about 2,500 competitors participating. Okay. And the way that works is, again mentioned, it goes across or can be a face-to-face, practical, hands-on competition in a venue around the UK, or it could be, depending on the skill, indeed, it could be an online assessment that takes place and all of the scores go back to the organising partner and then come to us. What happens from the qualifiers is the highest scoring competitors from across all of the heats within that skill will be selected and given the opportunity to move forward to the national finals. The national finals, a huge event in an area to be confirmed this year, is where those finalists get together, having done their extra training all the way through. They get together, they up their skills, and they will compete and demonstrate their fantastic skills that they've got in front of an audience in the venues. Okay. And that takes place in November, and there's on average 550 finalists that go through. Should the skill that you enter be an international competition, and should the participant meet the criteria to move up, they could then be selected to go into squad, okay, for squad development for the internationals. And our international competitions, the next one is in Lyon 2024. So people get selected to enter those skills, and they could represent Team UK. The final bit is, what we'd like to do is we'd like to get people in to that pool of talent at the beginning, so they enter the competitions at national stage ready to progress up. And I will now hand over to Colin, but if there are any questions as we go through, please do put them on the chat, or there will be time at the end to ask.
And I think sort of a lot of the chat that's questions that are coming through now, hopefully we'll be able to answer in this little section. We've brought the presentation out into 3 sections, so we'll answer as we go along at the end of each section as well. From the registration perspective, there's 2 ways that somebody can register for the competitions. So there's the tutor or trainer can register your learners. And if you look down the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see you'll need to have these pieces of information to be able to register those learners. Once you've registered them on our registration portal, the competitors, your learners, will then be sent an email to finish off their registration to accept the terms and conditions that they're happy to take part in the competition. The individual or the competitor, the learner, can register themselves as well. And on the right-hand side, you'll see sort of that they need similar amounts of information for that. As a point of contact, so as we go through either role, you add a tutor trainer as a point of contact. You also get emailed for the competitor if they register individually as well. Some of the questions that are coming through sort of on the registration portal. Yes, if you're in education or training, so if you're in a training provider, yes, you can take part in the competitions. Each of the competitions have specific entry criteria that they're after. So they may be looking for a higher apprentice if they're a level 6, level 5, level 6 competition. The majority of our competitions sit around about the level 3 area, but some ask for so many years, not to have so many years industry experience, or have, as Mark said, completed a qualification or a training within 12 months for registering for the competition. If there's any sort of specific ones you need to find out about, other than specific skills, again, the web page for those skills is the best place to go for that. So just looking through some of the questions that we've got, we do keep a hold of all the data that we get provided when we do registrations, and that's put on our registration dashboard, which is on our web page. This will show you, as you can really sort of drill down to the area that you live in or your organisation, you can see how many people have registered. If you are registering, you'll see sort of on the right-hand side how many are in submitted. So they are young people who haven't yet accepted the terms and conditions and completed are in the competition themselves. But you'll get a breakdown of what it looks like from the United Kingdom picture. You can do it by region, you can do it by organisation or a group of organisations for where you are, so you can see sort of on the graph what your registrations look like. We are just about to start the next section, so I'll just quickly go through the questions that we've got. So Dean, sorry, I'll start with Eileen. So competitors selected and trained for WorldSkills competitions. As a tutor trainer, the first step would be to look on our website, look at the technical documents, technical handbooks, to see which of your learners would fit in with those criteria. So if it's say health and social care, for instance, it might be a level 3 year 1 may have some of the experience, but level 3 year 2 may have some more experience for that to take part in when you get down into what we call core competencies. So that's the real sort of the nitty gritty of what that competition will be assessing as they go through. For yourself as a tutor or trainer, it would be then you'll be looking at which of your learners would be good to sort of select to go for the competition. When you're registering your learners, we always advise sort of you talk them through, get them to have a look. Everything's forward facing, so you can see everything that the learner can see. There's nothing hidden, so they can go and have a look at themselves as well to see if it's something they'd be interested in as well. For the competitions, the entry stage are all online or remote, in the sense of that you might have to send pictures back to the competition organising partner to be judged. So some of the skills are photographic, some of the skills are an online knowledge-based assessment based around the skills sort of for that. When you get the qualifiers, as Mark said, that's where it becomes more of a hybrid model, where we do have some of the qualifiers where they're done in your home centre, and the judge or judging panel will beam in through Zoom, Teams, Google Meet to watch what's going on. Some of the qualifiers are physical, where you would have to actually physically take your learners to that. And one of the things we try and do with the physical qualifiers is make sure that you're not having to travel large distances. So we try and keep them as close as we can for everybody to be sort of able to access them to that. Last year, we also had, because of the question that came in about fees, the competitions and everything we do at WorldSkills is free. We're a non-for-profit organisation, charity, and are partly funded by the DFE. We did last year, and I'm not sure if it's happening this year, but as soon as we know, we'll publicise that on our web pages, have a competitor support fund, which was there to help sort of with some of the cost of transportation or materials for any young people taking part in the competition, so nobody was disadvantaged. For Lorenzo, the skills and trades that are represented in the competitions, we've got 53 this year. We've got quite a mix of different skills. We've got things like digital construction, plumbing, IT-based skills, cybersecurity, hairdressing, beauty skills. So there's quite a range of skills for that. What we'll do by the end is we'll put into the chat our webpage so you can go in and have a look. And there's a document you can download that shows you all of the skills for that. Success stories, again, Lorenzo, on the web pages for each of the skills, there are success stories and case studies in there, and we do have blogs and other areas on the website you can look at. I'm just quickly going through. For the international competitions, I'm going to hand that back over to Mark, because Mark used to be part of that bigger team, so he'll be able to tell you sort of how organisations can get involved with WorldSkills International.
How the organisations, what, Colin? Sorry, yes, I'm looking down.
Involved with WorldSkills International.
How do organisations get involved, did you say?
Yes.
Well, they just go onto our website again and make contact with the international team, because we within WorldSkills, we are separated now into a national team and an international team and a sponsorship team, etc., etc. So there are all the information again will be on the web page. What I would suggest to everybody at the moment, if I may please, is some of the questions, and there are lots and lots coming in, and we can answer all of them. And if we can't answer because they come from another team, we would signpost you to them. But could I ask that you use an email, our competitions@worldskillsuk.org. So if we can put that into the chat, Colin, then people could actually put them there and we'll respond directly. But for now, how do organisations get involved in internationals? Many different ways, really. But if they've got a competitor who has been entered, then they would be supporting that competitor, a training manager for the specific skill that we would have. I don't know, say for auto body refinishing or whatever, auto body repair, as an example, would come along to the employer and chat with them and tell them what they would need, or the release dates, etc., and the training that can be involved. There are lots of sponsorship opportunities and partnership working opportunities. We went to a dinner in the week where we met with a lot of the IMI, the Institute of Motor Industry, but I've said them, but they're the ones that came to mind. But this is the same throughout all of the skills that we got: electronic security, welding, construction, metalwork, hairdressing, with L'Oreal, etc., all these different companies. There's lots of opportunities to get involved and show your support, really. Performance indicators and benchmarks, I think Colin will come into that in a while. He'll speak more on that. Any particular industries and sectors were especially beneficial? Well, beneficial for competitors in the past. Well, we had a car body repair or painting competitor that went into internationals, and he's now works for Ferrari and painting and repairing some of the cars. We've got people in the culinary skills that have moved on, and restaurant services, to work in really high quality restaurants, and some of them started their own businesses. One of them just got one of the stars that you get, for the cooking. I don't know, because I'm not a cook myself, but he actually has gone through to that. Many of the competitors move up in their industry and actually go up the promotion ladder quite quickly, and quite a few come back as training managers, judges, and support the skills in a different way. Again, there's lots of information and evidence of this on the website. Is this more for practical trades, or any opportunity for sectors like actually accountancy? Yes, there is. There is accounting technician is one of the competitions that are in this year, Paul. So that's another one where you could register for. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. It was Kaplan, I believe, with the organising partner. Again, we got 53 different ones, so trying to remember. But yes, definitely 100% accountancy is in this year. And if you want to know what it entails, have a look on the website under the skill. Find the skill nationals, and that should tell you. Different countries. Sorry, if I can pick these up later on. If you want to go through, I think we'd pick these up because there's lots of them coming in.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think we just had a little stopping point to try and sort of clear them, because it's great. Sort of loads of questions are brilliant. Some of the questions that are in there we'll cover sort of further on as we go through the slide deck, but quite a lot of them sort of fits nicely around sort of the registration side for that. Moving on sort of for the embedding side into the curriculum. So this is looking at a few different ways of utilising some of the resources we've got. And I know there's been a few questions about sort of how you train, how you prepare. And this is sort of something that we've really been working on, is looking at that resource bank, that information that can be provided to you. So we'll start off with a little video. I'm just going to flip to the video.
Our competitions support educators to develop high-quality technical skills with their learners and apprentices. It will provide inspiration to improve your teaching, training, and learning techniques. You can benchmark performance and learn from peers across the UK. It will grant you access to additional resources and equipment. Support your continued professional development by updating and extending your subject specialist skills and knowledge, and help your delivery of the Curriculum Inspection Framework. Our competitions are for everyone. Sign up your students and apprentices and watch them develop excellence at work.
So that was sort of a little insight into sort of where we're coming from, sort of for that, and the benefits for the young people and for yourselves as well. So when we're looking at embedding into curriculum, what we've been working on as part of assisting sort of with that is we've been working on, especially in the education inspection framework, the intent, implementation, impact, and looking at how you can fit competition activity in as part of that from a localized point of view right the way through to national and in the international competitions as well. So looking at that intent, it's looking at the way we assess and how we assess. And then there's been a few sort of questions about that. And as Mark said, sort of, those industry experts are organising partners. They use sort of different ways of assessing sort of the skills, knowledge and behaviours of the young people who are coming through onto and through the competitions. The feedback and the feed forward is crucial in the development of the skills and of what the young people are doing. And at every stage of the competition, feedback is given and the feed forward. And there's two types of feedback that we give. One is generic one. So at the end of the competition activity, the lead judge will give a generic feedback of everything that he's seen or she's seen around sort of what that skill was. So for an example, I observed last year at qualifier a beauty skill, and they're talking about sort of the soft skills development, things like the client care, not being specific to any individual, but sort of giving that sort of generic sort of these are the good points, these are the points that need to develop. Then after we've done quality assurance and checked all the results, then the competition organising part will send out bespoke feedback to each of the learner, giving them sort of that areas of best practice, areas for develop, and what they could do for moving forward in the future as well. And that is looking at helping that distance travelled. So if they start the journey, they register sort of this week, next week, they do the entry stage, and they get through the qualifier stage. You then can start mapping out that journey that they've had and that development, that uplift that they have between the stages. If they only got to the qualifier stage and weren't successful in getting to the national finals, that's not just the end of the journey for that young person. It is looking at sort of how they've reinforced their prior learning, how they understand, and that feedback that helps them sort of moving forward for that. And also as part of that, within the WorldSkills package that we have, for a lot of the young people who take part in the competitions, they have the opportunity to become part of our ambassador network. So if they take part in the qualifiers and national finals, they have the opportunity to come back and get trained up to go on to give talks, talk about their experience within sort of taking part in competitions and how that has sort of developed their life and what that advantages or disadvantages it's had moving forward for that. Looking at the implementation, we've been looking at sort of how we plan and insert it in the curriculum model, how it's sequenced. I know sort of being an ex-educator myself, that's the crucial sort of term at the moment, is how it's sequenced into the curriculum. So it becomes an add-in, not an add-on. And one of the things for that we've been sort of championing at the moment is if you register one learner in a class of 20, then the other 18, 19 in that class could take part in the same activity even though they're not going through the WorldSkills, but still take part in that activity. And working with our competition organising partners and with ourselves, we can then sort of provide you with sort of that feedback, some of the marketing to help sort of develop your other young people. So this year they may not be ready for competition activity, but next year they are. And the big bit that we're looking at is that impact. What is the impact that competitions have on the young people, on the educators, on the training providers, on the institutions of taking part in our competitions? And some of the things that we found from research that we've done is things like skills development. So they can see that the distance travel that young person's developed skills in areas and gone above and beyond. So that's sort of higher level training. It fits in with the Gatsby benchmarks. And then that international sharing of best practice, as Mark mentioned earlier, our insights team as part of the international teams bring back all this relevant information that's happening around the world, so we can then sort of use that to really sort of help influence what's happening sort of in the United Kingdom. One of the things we're looking at is that timeline of embedding in the curriculum. The competition cycle fits in a calendar year, so it starts January for the pre-competition into February for the registration through to November for national finals, which sits outside of the academic year, which of course is September to June. And what we're looking at is April, May is trying to sort of do some CPD, some sort of sessions and provide some resources for putting this into the self-assessment reports, quality improvement plans. For July, working with sort of educators, training providers to make this go into part of their schemes of learning. And then September, trying to get some resources to really sort of help with promotions of welcome days and freshers fairs. So at that point in September, a lot of young people are really getting excited about sort of the possibility of competition activity coming on. October, December, local competition activity. In the United Kingdom, we have a lot of localised activity and more happening. So in the Manchester area, there's a lot of activity around the Greater Manchester Group. In the northeast of England, Kent, for skills have theirs, Wales, Northern Ireland, and there are other pockets of competition activity starting to happen. And the competition activity can be sort of something as simple as class against class, to sort of college to department versus department, and also to college as well. And these things we're trying to promote, so when we hit early 2024, people are ready for our registrations for the WorldSkills, and they've had that exposure to that. Bringing in sort of the inspection frameworks, and for those who are working in education and training who've been either through inspections or know that they're coming up. One of the things that Ofsted and Estian from Wales have been looking at, and it's now part of their inspection frameworks, is about using skills competitions as part of a sort of that descriptor to help towards in England, especially that outstanding grade. What we've done, and if anybody wants a copy of it, please use the competitions at WorldSkills UK .org email, and we send you. We produce an EAF document which sort of fits around what sort of the intent, the implementation, the impact, and sort of some statements can be put into your documents to help when you are preparing for Ofsted inspections for that. Estian in Wales, again, they're looking at sort of the skills competitions and sort of looking at how against that impact and what that does. Currently in Education Scotland and Northern Ireland, competitions aren't part of their inspection framework, but because WorldSkills UK is across all the devolved nations, we're working with those devolved nations to look at how we can use competition activity to help with development of the young people, develop the skills, and also embedding that into the curriculum and having it linked towards the qualifications and apprenticeship standards that the young people are working towards at this moment in time. Just going to pause there for a second. Yes, Paul, we'll make sure that the web link goes in the chat. I'll do that very, very shortly. For challenges of past participants have faced during the competition. So prior to working for WorldSkills, and Mark was the same, we were competition organising partners. So we were part of that network that helped to write the test projects, the briefs and the marking schemes, and employ the judges and sort of those other industry experts to get involved with the competitions and do the judging and everything for that. Some of the challenges past participants have faced, some of the ones that I had sort of was prior to COVID, the national finals used to be at the NEC in Birmingham and what used to be called Live, or the Skill Show, if anybody has ever been or remembered those. They were part of WorldSkills UK, and prior to that was Find a Future. And sometimes the scale of that can be absolutely overwhelming for some of the young people that have never had that opportunity for that. And once they've got there, they've started meeting new friends due to the developments that's happened sort of from September to November. So they've got people that they know who are working on, they're competing against, but are starting to build friendships up from that. And those soft skills, those meta skills, really showcase a sort of from that. Once they get onto the shop floor where they're going to be competing, they really sort of start relaxing. They forget about the thousands of people that are sort of going to be around watching them and things like that. And they get concentrating on what that is. And that's sort of from feedback we've had from employers as well, was really good, because it was showing sort of that all of this outside interference, they were able to concentrate on what it was they were able to do. Some of the other barriers that young people have had are things like sort of not being fully sort of understanding of what they have to do. And then when they've had conversations, and a lot of our organising partners do webinars, especially now, sort of where they can't physically be in all places at once, or they use communication tools to keep in touch with the competitors, to talk them through what they have to do, not giving them sort of any sort of advantage for that, but giving them sort of those tips for that. And also things like the technical handbooks as well. We've got judges' top tips in there as well, so you can have a look at those yourself, your competitors and your learners can have a look at those as well. And it gives some real good insight of some of the things that's happened in previous competitions that the judges will be looking for to really help for that. Some of the past competitors who we have a few who are part of our Skills Champions alumni and have gone on to win awards with the organisations they are. One who springs to mind, a young lady who took part in competitions, won silver in, I think it was 2019. There would have been the last NEC live. She, through doing the competitions, changed from one course and went on to a different course. And I think she was doing mechanical engineering CAD and won silver in that competition. She now is an apprentice training manager for a company and comes and sort of speaks about her journey through that. And because it's quite a sort of an inspiring story of how she sort of started off in electrical installation, moved on to CAD, really sort of found the competitions was really helpful because she was meeting people, talking to it. And as Mark said, because all the test projects are set by industry as well, there's lots of people watching the competitions and finding out and coming and talking to the young people and to the tutors and trainers as well. And they're getting that exposure to sort of a world outside of their comfort bubbles within their colleges and training providers. So it gives a real sort of a bigger picture sort of what competitions can do within WorldSkills, and also sort of that developing sort of those skills within the young people. One of the questions that came up earlier, which I'm going to sort of cover now, is about sort of resources and how we train young people up. What we've been doing over the last sort of 18 months is been working on what is now called the Developing Excellence Project, which fits in with our Centre of Excellence. So as part of WorldSkills, we've got a Centre of Excellence where we're in year 3 of that, which is sponsored by the NCFE, where it have our high performance skill coaches. So these are technical experts, masters in their field, who then sort of go out and sort of upskill staff through CPD, do train the trainer, get people involved in things like international mindset, sort of understanding sort of how competitions work, how this embeds into the curriculum for that. And we're working on a competence to excellence framework. So the easiest way to describe a competence to excellence framework is your competence is your pass. So you would expect and you would hope that the majority, or if not all, of your learners would hit the pass mark on their qualification. But the excellence is that distinction. It's that how they've gone that little step further to that, where identify could be the competence, but describe is going to be the excellence. I mean, really sort of an old educator where it goes back to all can, some can, few can. All can would be that competence, where you'd expect everybody in the class, everybody that you're training and working with to be able to do. But you know that in that exercise, in that sort of training, there's only going to be a few who are going to be able to do it straight away, and the rest will get there sort of as they go through that. And that's something that we're really sort of been working on and developing now. So this Developing Excellence Project, we're in pilot stage at the moment. And we're working using the existing information we've got as part of the national competition cycle over the last few years. What we've done is create a benchmark resource. And what we mean by benchmark resource is we've taken a resource, part of a test project from previous years, stripped it back to make it sort of manageable in a classroom. So at a qualifier test project could be up to 6 to 8 hours long. In a class, you may have your class for 2. You can't do a 6 to 8 hour project. So we've really looked at that and taken the bits that would fit in with the qualifications that the young people could be on, or part of their apprenticeship standards that would be on for that as well. And benchmark it by looking at when that skill or that project was used, what the average score was at that time. And we're providing that with you. And that's mostly to give you sort of that indication of where your learners would sit compared to previous years. And we're not using this as any other tool than just so you can see sort of from where they're at this moment in time and help sort of with that development forward. We're looking at the skills, knowledge, behaviours as part of that, and looking at the different stages of the competition activity. So we've got 2 different styles of activity. So we've got 17 initial online assessments, which are currently housed on our website at this moment in time, and we'll put it into the chat for you very, very soon, which fits on that pre-competition activity. And I know there's a question about accountancy technician. There is an activity in that 17 for that. These are based on Microsoft Forms. They're very, very straightforward. They're self-directed, so the young person can go through, get through the questions, they get their score, they get the answers at the end, so you can see how they compare, how they've done previously to sort of the competitors, and that was about 2021 that they were used. From that, we've started developing more practical-based activities, so we've got 10 skills that we've got for those. If anybody's interested in those 10 skills, we're currently getting them converted onto our learning lab at this moment in time, which I'll talk about the learning lab very, very shortly. If you are interested in sort of getting a hold of those resources, if you drop us a mail to the competitions at worldskillsuk.org, myself or one of the team will be able to send you a link to those resources so you can get a hold of them. Or the specific ones you're after, if you let us know, if we've got them, we'll send them. If not, we may be able to direct you to some good resources to help you with that. The benefits of this, so one of the things that we've really looked at that benefits of is that support. So as you're preparing to hopefully enter learners into our competitions, and I know from sort of working in education, sometimes it's difficult to then sort of have to juggle and create resources at the same time. So we're trying to provide those resources for you. All the resources that we have gone through quality assurance. The quality assurance, we've used standards verifiers from different awarding bodies who we've sent those resources out, and they have sort of updated them, created them, and aligned them to curriculum qualifications and to apprenticeship standards. So they're not just sort of ones we've taken, put together and said that this is great. They have actually gone through a robust quality assurance process. We are looking as well, sort of as we know, sort of after COVID, the skills gaps for a lot of those young people who weren't able to get out into apprenticeship, into their placements and all those areas. That's what's trying to sort of really sort of help provide that, but giving that information to the educators at the same time as well. How it works, each one lasts about an hour and a half. We've got the initial assessments, we've got the practical assessments. They're all benchmarked, so you can see that. The practical assessments, you get a session plan, an assignment brief, and a mark scheme where you can put in all the marks and you can see sort of where your learners sit for benchmarking and just for themselves as well. But we've really broken down the marks on the practical assessments. So you can see sort of if it's out of 3, what a 1 mark looks like, a 2 mark looks like, a 3 mark looks like. So you can do this as tutor led, so you mark, or you can give the learners the autonomy to do peer marking as well, and help sort of with that feedback of what the areas of things, so like painting and decorating, for instance. They may have painted, but when they've took the masking tape off, they've got bleed lines in that. That'll be sort of clear in the descriptor for that. So you can say, yeah, you got 1 mark for being able to paint up that, but you lost the mark because when we peeled it off, your paints bled together. And this could be sort of for all the different things for that. I'm going to hand back over to Mark, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about us.
Okay, yeah, as we mentioned at the beginning, we're a very large charity working with the government and DFE, but we've also got a lot of sponsors, and there was a question about sponsors and partnership working. What's on here is just a snapshot of the headline sponsors that we've got, and you can see we go from the NHS, you've got the Royal Air Force, the Army, AELP, Coca-Cola, Toyota, and numerous others. I'm not going to read them all out, but this was just to demonstrate that there are so many partners already in, and you could come in at different levels to support. Everything we do, I would say, is basically it's free to the people that do it, if that makes sense. So if you're a competitor, it shouldn't cost you anything to do. If you're putting your people forward for it, again, it shouldn't cost anything to do that, except for obviously time for them to do that. But this is just a snapshot of who supports our network currently, and there are many, many more on top of that. So I think what we want to look at really is, okay, what next? What would we worth doing? What would it be good to do? Some people have asked how they can get involved, what they need to do. So your first step really is to go on the website. That's now a couple of times been put on the chat, so hopefully you can all see that, and find out the details of the specific competitions that you wish to go into. So if you go into the national skills competitions, find a skill, and they all come up, you type them in, and then you'll go onto that relevant landing page for that skill. Okay. Once you've had a look and you think, yeah, this is good, I believe so-and-so would be good to enter this, or I'm good to enter this, then enter online. Please consider when you're entering, check your registrations as they go in. If you're going to register numerous people, check that what stages they're at, because you might fill all the details in, but what we have for the data protection is we can't share the individual's details until they have agreed for that to happen. So they'll get sent an email once they're registered. An email will say, please agree to this, terms and conditions. Do you want to share? Once we've done that, their details go to our organising partner for that skill specific. That's where the actual momentum starts, right? So check your registrations, go into. You can also look online, because some of the talk about competition, some of the colleges and the regions, etc., compete against each other to get as many people through and to see how they're performing. How are they performing against the others? Again, all that can be done. Prepare for the competition. Some of the organising partners offer pre-training, as I mentioned, like Industry 4.0, for example, is a new skill, and people with the right mindset, possibly doing software technician and electrician, those combined in the team, they will give training so they know what they're going into beforehand. Okay, so prepare for that competition. Use the tools and resources. They're all free. Okay, there's lots of stuff there. It's all free. Look at the technical handbook. Any questions, you look through it and go, I don't really understand that. Please do get in touch with competitions or with the organising partner that is named on the contact details, named on that skill. Okay, to preparation and planning is good, as you know. And indeed, if you want to get more information and support your learners more, or if you're a learner and you want more support, do sign up and register for the Learning Lab. Again, I want to highlight everything is free. Okay.
So I've flooded the chat. I do apologise. I've flooded the chat with the different sort of links that we've got there. So you've got the competition development programme, which is the 17 online resource that I talked about. I put a link in for the Learning Lab. The Learning Lab will require you to sign up to it. As Mark said, it's free. And they've got things like technical masterclasses on there, mindset masterclasses. It is in essence, our virtual learning environment. And we're constantly updating that. So our careers advocacy toolkit and everything like that is being converted across to that at the moment. I put a link into our list of competitions because I know that was a question that came up earlier. So that's the PDF link. Hopefully that works. You click on that, that'll show you all of the competitions, and each competition is linked will take you to the competition page. The Looker Studio is the data dashboard. So if you want to have a look and see what the picture looks like for your region. And then the top one is the National Competitions webpage and the Get in Touch email address as well. So that is for our contact centre. So if you are looking at registering and want some extra support, if you get in touch with our Get in Touch email address, they'll be able to support you with your registrations for your learners. As I say, any questions, you've got that email address or the competitions one as well. I'm just conscious we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm just picking up some of the questions. If the competitions are abroad, how is this funded, please?
Okay, if the competition is abroad, how is it funded? If your competitor gets through into the international squad, or indeed through to be the representative, either a team or individual in that skill, it is all funded by WorldSkills. It's funded by us to go abroad. We went to Kazan, went to Abu Dhabi, Saudi, Sao Paulo, Canada, and numerous other places. It was meant to be Shanghai last year, but that was due to COVID, obviously, had to go elsewhere. But there should never be a cost for the individuals going. I said there should never be. Obviously, the cost would be maybe if they wanted to buy themselves a coffee, but everything's prepared, everything is available for them. So it's funded by WorldSkills.
Brilliant. Another question's come in, sort of how are they judged? So obviously the competitions, so something like business skills. So for accountancy technician, at each of the stages, the judging obviously is going to be slightly different. So at the entry stage for the business style competitions, they're normally an online form-based assessment that runs through from that. At the qualifier stage, it will be some sort of physical product that they will build. So it could be a presentation, PowerPoint. It could be they're inputting into certain piece of software. And again, as Mark's sort of said, so if there's specific software that is needed, that's communicated by the competition organising partner, and reasonable adjustment is always made so that if they say that they need to use this specific piece of accounting software, but that doesn't fit within what you have as part of your organisation, then working with a competition organising partner, they make reasonable adjustments so that you don't have to, you're not going out and buying that.
Or they provide it, Colin. They actually, like if you did industrial robotics, for example, FANUC will provide the robo guide for that. So that's a software tool that's needed. Autodesk provide us, and Mastercam provide the specific skills for CAD, for digital construction. What's the other ones? You've got Festo that supply the equipment for Industry 4.0, etc. So there's a lot of industry that put into these competitions, and they will actually support that. Colin, let's pick up on one what Paula says at the top with what advice would you give to someone who is considering entering the competitions? The only advice really is do it and go for it, have the experience. What I didn't mention was that you can enter the competitions, and as long as you do not win a gold medal in that skill, you can enter again the following year. Okay, we would encourage people to enter if they feel they can do the job, or you see them and one of your learners might go, I'd like to enter, and you would put them through, use the resources, train them up. That's it. Look at the website, look at what you're thinking of entering, Paul, or anyone who is looking at entering, and have a look at the resources. Use the pre-activity stuff, but get your registration in, and the experience outweighs the fact that at the point of not competing in many, many ways. And it was great when we used to see our competitors very quiet coming in and all the rest of it, and they develop, they get up on the stage at the end. What a fantastic experience they had. And that made the job all worthwhile, seeing the young people, or the people, because at any age national, going up and winning. So being the best in Britain, being the best in their region, but being the best in the UK, and best in the world to some as well, who've got aircraft maintenance, gold medals, couple of years running. So go for it, really do.
And some of the benefits for that as well is, even if they just get to take part in the entry stage and find that it's not right for them at this moment in time, they can still use that as part of their CV. They've been part of something that's sort of a lot of employers are really looking at as that going above and beyond, so that they can see sort of that, well, that young person took a WorldSkills competition. We want to interview them about that and talk them about that. And from, again, previous questions on success stories, we do know that a lot of young people who've taken part in competitions, at whatever stage they've ended up at, it's really helped them sort of with when they've had job interviews, because they've had something different to talk about, especially of their experience, and when they're asked sort of like, well, what have you done to sort of develop that? So they're going in with the qualifications that quite a lot of other people may have, and they may be exactly the same qualified as somebody else going for that, but they've got that little bit added extra to what they have done in their experience for that. From the apprenticeship side as well, they take part in the competitions, can be counted towards the off-the-job training as well. So there's a lot of ways that we build the competition activity around, sort of fits around what's currently happening at this moment in time within sort of technical, vocational education and apprenticeships as well. T levels, if anybody's studying T levels, if we've got a competition that fits with those T levels, again, they're more than welcome to come and take part in the competition, and we encourage that as well. We know T levels are still quite new, and some of the things that we're working on within the T levels is to really make sure that this aligns to adding evidence to what they're doing as part of the T levels. So again, part of that off the job, out of classroom training, so they can use that within there as well. We've got about 6 minutes. I'm hoping we're covering all of the questions. I think we've covered just about everything. If anybody else has got any questions, please drop in the chat. If you think of something afterwards, again, you've got our 2 email addresses there, competitions@worldskillsuk.org or getinTouch@worldskillsuk.org, and they will be directed to the relevant member of our teams who will be able to get in touch with you and either hopefully answer your question via email or obviously speak to you and sort of do that from that. If after this you want to take this back to your faculty, your development, your organisations, and you want some bespoke training done, again, drop us an email. We're more than happy to come out and do that. We go to a lot of colleges and training providers and do either talks to educators around that, or we have just this week we've had for Industry 4.0 had some physical training on, where we've had invited educators and training providers to come along and get trained up by some of our experts that work with us and our industry partners for that. So there's lots of ways that you can get involved with WorldSkills, and a lot of where we can support you in getting involved with WorldSkills as well. So if there's anything you want, please drop us an email. If it's within our power that we can do, we can sort that out, or at least hopefully get you in touch with the right person who can do that. And I don't think I've got anything else, Mark.
No, there's nothing else that is coming, Colin. I think that's it really, and I'd thank everyone else or everybody to go forward, and thank you very much for your time.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much both, and it was such a comprehensive session. I think hopefully everyone had their questions answered. I know there was so much information given. Just a reminder that this session is recorded, so if you signed up today, if you registered, you will receive it by email. If not, please get in touch with Career Map, or you can hopefully find it on the website, but it will depend how they release it, so definitely drop Career Map an email if you need to. And these links will stay in the chat, so if after we close the session, if you want to keep your browser window open, if you just want to grab those links, they will stay up for you hopefully. But otherwise, thank you so much, and yeah, hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you very much. Goodbye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone.